Whether you like Bob Dylan or not, you have to recognize that Like a Rolling Stone is greatness and important to music culture. If you do a search on the greatest song of all time, the internet will tell you it's Like a Rolling Stone. It's not just one source, there's multiple sources in which the song is in the discussion or at least in the top 25. But I'm not here to boast about the song's accomplishments or Bob Dylan and prove why he's a legend. You should already know that. I'm taking a deeper dive into the song itself and analyzing its lyrics, music, where it came from, where it's going, and how we can appreciate it fully. We first have to understand how, when, and why Dylan wrote this song. Let's start with when. Late May to mid-June 1965. A short month after the crazy UK tour, which most shows were on back-to-back days and saw Dylan running in and out of concert halls and dealing with the press on his days off. A lot of things happened before then, too. Dylan had 5 albums released by that time. Mostly every song was considered folk and acoustic. Barring a few ones that were backed by a band, nevertheless, Dylan was still considered acoustic. And Dylan was sick of that. He didn't want to make another acoustic song. He was done pleasing the crowds and feeding them protest songs. He wanted to evolve. He almost quit everything right then and there. He wanted to write something completely different. I haven't really gotten into writing a completely free song. He knew he was exploring new sounds, saying, "The other stuff I was doing didn't even resemble those earlier songs at all." He wanted to continue utilizing the band and unlock more of its powerful tone, saying in December 1965, "I knew I had to sing it with a band. I always sing when I write." With that type of feeling in mind, he wrote Like a Rolling Stone. Like a Rolling Stone changed it all. I didn't care anymore after that about writing books or poems or whatever. Here was something that I, myself, could dig. My songs are pictures, and the band makes the sound of pictures. Some say it was close to nearly 20 pages long of pure vomit, as Dylan describes it, with some hatred and revenge in it, but then later, changing his tune saying, "In the end, it wasn't hatred. It was telling someone something they didn't know, telling them they were lucky. I was at the piano, and on the paper it was singing, 'How does it feel?' in a slow motion pace. It was like, in your eyesight, you see your victim swimming in lava, in the pain they were bound to meet up with." The exact when could be between May 28th through the 31st, possibly when Dylan was sick with quote-unquote food poisoning. There's a story that Dylan had some bad acid at a party. This story can tie into the lyrics. If this was Dylan at his lowest point, with everything happening with his career and the draining tour, combined with a bad drug experience, it all makes sense. Now you don't seem so proud. I wouldn't be if I took acid and had a bad time with it. I'm starting to wonder, what were the lines that weren't recorded? Imagine all the material we missed out on. So that's a little of why he wrote it, but how in the hell did he do it? Dylan says a ghost wrote it for him, like the ghost took over the pen and spit out something. Subconscious, this takes you over and lets loose, vomiting. If you break it down, it's a great rhyming poem at its core. Every stanza ends with the eel sound, meal, deal, steal, conceal, and of course, the best line of it all, how does it feel? Now, a lot of people like to think that these songs are always about a girl or a former lover, but I don't think that's the case with this one. It's more about himself. If you think about the context and what we just said, it has to be about him. He almost gave up on everything. He was so tired of it all. How does it feel? He's asking himself that. To be without a home. Bob Dylan is the original vagabond. He never had a true home. Like a complete unknown. Dylan always felt he was misunderstood. Watch and listen to any press conference that he did. To say it best was Robert Shelton, a Dylan biographer. It's about the loss of innocence and the harshness of experience. I couldn't agree with that more. In the beginning, Dylan was this cute young kid, and everyone wanted to be him or be with him. But he was growing up and discovering he can't be cute anymore. People were unforgiving. They wanted so much of him, and he was sick of it. Now back to the girl idea. Who is Miss Lonely and the girl in this song? It's him. It's always been him. I think a creative writer changes the point of view and keeps the readers on their toes. If you really read it, that's the only time the female gender is identified. From there, it's a bunch of yous over and over again. Dylan will have he, and I strongly believe Dylan is talking about himself. Not once does he use the word I or me. I believe Dylan reserved those words for when he really means it. Like Ballad in Plain D. That's a very personal song. He uses I, myself, us. It's so personal and raw that Dylan hated himself afterwards for writing it and never sung it once in concert. Now you might think this line is going to be contradicting, but Dylan himself said, I was singing words I didn't really want to sing, little words like you, but, like a Rolling Stone, changed it all. To finalize my point about this is another quote from Dylan saying, when I used words like he and it and they and talking about other people, I was really talking about nobody but me. So that ties into the point of Dylan being Miss Lonely, and so does the lines a little bit before and after it. You've gone to the finest schools, all right, Miss Lonely, but you know you only used to get juiced in it. Dylan was enrolled at University of Minnesota, which is a highly respectable school. But he didn't really attend class, and he soon dropped out. With everything just said, I think one could infer the rest of the song on their own. I want to move on to the music part of it. It's weird and interesting to say that Tom Wilson produced this one track on the record, while Bob Johnson produced the rest. But it's not alarming due to the fact that Tom produced a lot of Dylan songs before this and was a rock and roll guru. He brought in all the amazing session musicians on this track, which included Mike Bloomfield and Bruce Leghorn. Trivia, this would be the last song Tom Wilson would produce for Dylan. Most say they had a falling out due to this song. Dylan was a stubborn dude, but it always paid off for him and his music. Originally, the song was in the key of G sharp, which is fascinating to me due to the fact that you'd be most likely reaching for a capo on the guitar to play along with them. Maybe I'm looking into that too much, but the third track on the album, It Takes a Lot to Laugh, It Takes a Train to Cry, is written in the key of G sharp. But they changed Like a Rolling Stone to be in the key of C, which makes it very easy and forgiving to play. To put it in layman's terms, the original key before changing it would have you use 5 black keys on the piano, while the key of C uses none, just all the white keys, which makes the song very easy to play on the piano. You can space out your fingers effortlessly. Let's learn how Dylan got to the finishing point and how the song evolved. To start, it was Dylan on the piano, and that's all you really heard, and it was in 3/4 time. I would say 80% of songs, if not more, and mostly popular songs are in 4/4 time. It's so widely used that it's actually called common time. It shocks me that Dylan even flirted with this idea, the 3/4 time. They did 5 takes of that, and then they went on to the next day, where they eventually put it in common time. And as per usual, recording was anything but perfect. You can hear Dylan arguing on the bootleg saying, no, we just gotta work that part out. No, here's what I mean. And classic Dylan, fumbling through his words, some takes starting with the harmonica, the bass making its presence known, and the drums basically non-existent. And now, the Al Kooper story and how he snuck into playing the organ. Al Kooper was originally a guitar player, but when blues legend Mike Bloomfield is playing, you have to step to the side. Kooper got onto the organ when they moved people around and when producer Tom Wilson was out of the booth. When they got done with the take and listened to it, Dylan wanted to increase the volume of the organ. Wilson said Kooper wasn't a real organ player, but Dylan didn't care, saying, hey now, don't tell me who's an organ player and who's not, just turn the organ up. They sounded the best on the 4th take and eventually used that one, but still did 11 more takes. It took them a while to realize they struck gold. Dylan said they took it to my manager's house, and different people kept coming and going, and we played it on the record player all night. At first pre-release, Columbia Records didn't want to promote it due to its 6-minute runtime and rock sound, but it got to a New York club where they played it over and over again and demanded more copies of the vinyl. This led to Columbia going forward with promoting it. Due to the fact that it clocked in at 6 minutes when first playing it as a single, Radio DJs had to flip over the vinyl in the middle of the song because 3 minutes back then was standard practice for radio stations. And a lot of radio stations at first didn't play the second half of the song. But the greater people demanded it, and eventually they played both halves. It was on the charts for 12 weeks. It got all the way up to number 2, second only to the Beatles' Help. It was a top 10 hit in many other countries as well. And it actually took Dylan 55 more years to finally crack the number 1 spot on any Billboard chart with his 60-minute plus song, Murder Most Foul. Like a Rolling Stone turned Dylan from a folk hero to a pop icon. This made him even more of a famous cultural legend. Dylan saw his peers praise him, including Paul McCartney, saying, "It was just beautiful. He showed us all that it was a little possible to go a little further." It was covered by many artists from a wide range of genres, including David Bowie, the Young Rascals, Cher, Spirit, Michael Bolton, John Mellencamp, Green Day, and the Rolling Stones. Also, Jimi Hendrix did a cover version and has an interesting quote that proves even further my understanding of this song, saying this: "It made me feel that I wasn't the only one who'd ever felt so low." It's funny to me that whenever Dylan would play electric back then, people would get angry. But when Like a Rolling Stone came on, the crowd loved it. Fans must have gotten used to the electric feel as the album it was on, Highway 61 Revisited, peaked at number 3 on the charts and went gold in 2 years' time. The album has also found itself on Best Albums of All Time lists. I believe it gave confidence and control to Dylan with his next album that would be seen as folk rock and Blonde on Blonde, which a lot of fans, including me, regard it as their favorite album by him. It was one of the first double albums in rock music. But back to Like a Rolling Stone. Bruce Springsteen said, "That snare shot that sounded like somebody kicked open the door to your mind, the way that Elvis freed your body, Dylan freed your mind." On June 24th, 2014, Sotheby's sold Dylan's original handwritten lyrics of Like a Rolling Stone. The lyrics were sold for $2 million, a record price for popular music manuscript. I think that sums it up for now. And to where this song is going, well, I wouldn't doubt that more people will cover the song. And how to appreciate the song is to play it loud and proud. I love the Neil Young quote where he talks about Dylan and says he saw a guy blasting like a Rolling Stone, screaming at the top of his lungs. This is the essence of his feeling. That is so powerful. You can't keep that. That comes and goes through you. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to like and share the video if you really liked it. And be sure to leave in the comments what Dylan song you want me to do next, a deep dive research on, or an album as a whole. I know someone else requested Time Out of Mind, which I will get to, and we just referenced Highway 61 Revisited, which we will get to. I appreciate all you guys, and we'll have a lot more Dylan stuff and any other kind of material that you guys want. I hope this is a little bit better than my other deep dives. I'm trying a new video editor, and hopefully it's better. Yeah, I don't know. All right, love you guys.